Alrighty boys, welcome back to another step-by-step video. Now today's video is once again going to be on mute. Now the first thing that I wanted to show you guys in today's video is going to be a C4 that you're going to want to do for a trophy on Oregon. Now this one, all you're doing is waiting for a little bit of audio of people being inside a trophy, tossing your nitro over the wall to get yourself a very easy kill to start the round. Now when you first get started playing mute, your first priority is going to almost always be to make rotate holes or head holes. Now the other thing that you want to be doing throughout prep phase is going to actually be placing down your mute jammers, as well as I believe that normally you should be looking for those early drones in the round, because a lot of people, what they try to do is they try to get a drone into sight early. So what I like to do is, if I don't have a rotate hole or head holes or anything like that that I have to make immediately, what I'll do is I'll go do one of my mute jammers that I'm using to deny drones, and I'm gonna go try to place one of those down first. And the reason why I do that is because a lot of the times early on in a round, people will be driving their drones towards whatever bomb site you're about to be playing, and the idea is that you're going to be trying to look for those early drones is the idea, while simultaneously putting down the mute jammers to basically shut down that area. Now the other important thing that I want to talk about with mute that a lot of people seem to not really think about that much, but a lot of people get stuck in this habit that the support operators or the people that play in sight need to be the ones that reinforce all the walls and stuff like that. And this isn't really that common, but some people do have this mentality. And one thing I really want to talk about is that I believe that when it comes to reinforcing walls, it's operator based as well as location based when you spawn in. Now what that means is that since mute has a lot of utility that gets placed down, in my opinion, I think what he should be focusing on is mostly rotate holes, head holes, putting his mute jammers down, because there are such, important pieces of utility. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, though, is that when you do spawn in, you should try to make it a habit to maybe reinforce one wall, maybe two walls if they're really close by together. You know what I mean? But for reference, you're mostly going to be wanting to focus on your mute jammers and your rotate holes, head holes. Now, as you saw from the first clip, the main thing that I wanted to show from that first clip was the nitro cell that mute does have. Now, I think mute has probably one of the strongest kits in the game, meaning he has a lot of different abilities that he's able to do. You have drone now, you have shotguns for rotates, you have C4 for kills, you have the SMG-11 for close range gunfights. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go for a play where I'm going to try to nitro a guy that has jumped into stock. I'm going to go ahead and nitro a default double door position here. And earlier on the cameras that I was on, I saw a guy pushing up marble. So I'm going to go ahead and run past the metal detector and walk up marble staircase here. Luckily, the ace is going to be walking down marble as I'm walking up, so I'm able to collect myself a very easy kill. Now it's a nice 2v1 position, and these type of positions, it's very important to play the pincer position, if that makes sense in this position. My rook is not ego challenging here, so I'm able to walk up because the Twitch is not ego challenging me on the stock double door here. He's just kind of hanging back. But what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm actually going to go in a frenzy, because I asked my teammate, is he going to play passive in this position? He said yes, so I'm going to go ahead and swing aggressively and get myself a very easy kill. It's important to communicate to your teammates whenever you're in those 2v1 positions. The easiest way to win in that position would probably be to force that Twitch to be in a pincer maneuver between us. However, the one thing I did wanted to do there is that we don't have to be perfect every single round. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about in today's video, and also last video I believe I talked about it a little bit, but not everybody plays perfect, guys, so you don't really need to focus on perfection when you're playing this game. The thing that I want you guys to understand is that, and even in that 2v1 position, even if we 1-by-1 swing that guy, which is the best case scenario for that guy, or maybe he catches us both off guard is the best case scenario and he wins the round, but even if we 1-by-1 swing that guy, technically we should still be winning on paper, even if it's not the best scenario possible. However, what communicating does in that position is that it lets me know that my rook is very adamant about playing the 1v1 position safely to win. And what I mean by safely is most likely my rook is just going to wait for the Twitch to plant even if I do die, which means that it's very likely for him to win in that position, because there was only about 30 seconds left, so it's very likely that he will be able to secure that round. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about with mute that I feel like a lot of people should really know about is the fact that mute is kind of like a hard counter for Dokkaebi in a weird way, where you can put down your mute jammers off-site or in-site or wherever you want to put them, and whenever a Dokkaebi rings her phone, you can actually place a mute jammer down or run towards a mute timer that you already have placed down and actually use it to actually get rid of that phone call. And I did it earlier on in this clip. I don't know if you noticed when I was yapping. Now, for context, what the enemy team is going to be going for in the next couple of seconds here is that they're going to be opening up the workshop hatch, and they're going to basically be looking for some kind of execute for back workshop here. I'm going to swing aggressively through this little head hole that I made, and I'm going to go ahead and finish off an injury that one of my teammates got, and we're going to go ahead and just play this nice 4v3 position. Unfortunately, my teammate runs away here, which kind of puts me at a disadvantage for this guy that's inside of sight here. It basically lets him, or allows him, to ego challenge me, and he technically could pre-fire me in this position. However, what is going to end up happening is he's going to try to run up on me. He doesn't pre-fire me, luckily, which actually enables me to pre-fire him to get myself a very easy kill. Now we're in a nice 3v2 position. Now, in this type of position, I'm going to go ahead and start rotating towards bottom metal because one of my other teammates is going to die towards events because another person dropped sight through the other hatch, and he's going to actually try to hit a plant onto default here, but luckily I'm going to be able to flank him in this position. The last guy in this position is Fuse. He went towards the lobby and killed my teammate that was inside of customs, and then he's going to basically be rotating around through bottom metal into vents to try to flank me. However, I'm going to go ahead and just chill in this position. He's going to try to hit a plant last second. I'm just going to hit a nice little flank onto him to get myself a very easy kill and secure the round right there. Always make sure to try to play time whenever you guys can, because if you play time, you're going to be able to win rounds that are normally going to be kind of awkward to win in a 50-50 engagement. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really get to explain that well in my other videos was actually the 50-50 gunfights concept. Now, technically, most gunfights in this game are going to be called a 50-50, which basically means 50% chance for each player to win that engagement. However, there's a lot of factors that come into play that determine who has more advantage in what position. Typically, the thing that I wanted to explain from the 50-50 engagement from last round that would have made it awkward is that I had very low health, so that means that if we took a 50-50 engagement there, I actually would have a big disadvantage because the Fuse only has to hit one bullet on me anywhere on my body to actually kill me in that position, right? So what that means is that logically speaking, the only way for me to gain a massive amount of advantage in that position to win the round is to actually just play safe in that position and just wait for the time to wind down, force them into a plant position, and then just hit a flank to secure the round. If you ever feel like you only get your kills on defense, the reason for this might actually be because you're the type of player where you take advantage of time advantage. Now, typically anchors are going to be really good at doing this. Like people who play in sight typically are going to be really good at doing this, where they mostly will just play for that time to wind down, and then they're going to look for their gap in the attack. And the gap is something that I wanted to talk about because the gap goes both ways when it comes to this game. Like there can be an attack gap and there can also be a defense gap. Now the defense gap in this position was that the enemy team was trying to flood through bathroom to try to take Astro. If they killed a guy inside of Astro, it would open up all of the space for statue trophy. However, when they were going for that gap, it actually gave me a gap onto them to swing through master because nobody was holding master doorway through the window or through the closet in that position, so I'm able to walk through master in that position to hit a nice easy flank on the Brava and Ash that we're trying to push into bathroom through closet. Now, the important thing to note here is that as I went for that, I believe what ended up happening is my Thunderbird rotated into statue to fill the hole that I basically made in for statue, which actually opened a hole into trophy, which actually opened up a new gap onto my frost for Astro I was playing behind a shield. Now, hopefully that made sense to you guys, but long story short, the idea is that when one person rotates, another person on your team needs to rotate to fill that void. Does that make sense? Originally, my Thunderbird was inside of Trophy, and as I went through the flank through Statue into Master for Bathroom Closet, my Thunderbird rotated into Statue to plug the gap for Statue, and then what should have happened is the Frost, after I killed the two guys inside of Bathroom Closet, should have looked towards Trophy to plug that gap, is the idea, long story short. And the thing that I wanted to talk about there is that as I was rotating back in, I basically would go and I would reinforce either side that is not getting plugged up, basically. You see what I'm saying? So I would either go statue or I would go trophy, depending on what the enemy team decides to do. Because then, since we're in a man advantage, we basically have the advantage when it comes to how many people are alive. So that means that if the enemy team has 2 people alive, that means they have the option of either going statue or trophy in that position since they're pushing down 90. They chose for trophy, so they got that kill through the trophy entrance, or board basically is what other people call it, and they look towards the astral rotate to get the kill onto Frost. So that means since they got that kill, the gap is now trophy, which means that I need to rotate into trophy to shut down that position or play for them to take that space. Does that make sense? Hopefully what I'm saying is like actually like making sense. Comment down below if that made sense for you guys or not, but basically this applies in every single bomb site that you guys play in this game. A really good example of this concept applying is actually going to be on basement for Clubhouse, where people tend to do like a very heavy kitchen drop push where they push through like kitchen hatch, dirt, blue, and basically what ends up happening is that if none of the enemy team pushes through church or main or anything like that, what needs to happen is the people that play in a bunker setup for the basement on Clubhouse is that the people that are playing inside a church need to rotate to blue, or they need to rotate into arsenal, depending on what's weak in the position for what the enemy team is going to most likely go for to be able to win the round and get rid of the people in the positions that are going to stop that push. Does that make sense? So like, for example, if you want to stop a kitchen hatch push, you want somebody on mannequin, you want somebody on AKs. But if you have somebody on AKs, then you need somebody in blue to make sure nobody can walk down blue to kill your person on AKs or mannequin. I know it sounds complicated, but it's basically like the more people you have alive, the easier it is for people to make these rotations. Now what's going to end up happening here, the enemy team is trying to make a push through game/picnic to get to piano bomb site. Now right here, what I need to do is I need to fill the void for dorm, since my Ella and my Doc are now looking towards that location of the map here. And so when I look towards dorms in this position, I need to focus on the ace that walked in the breach, who I do that end up downing, and then I'm going to go ahead and kill another guy that's on the breach here, which actually plugs up the dorm's gap in this position. Last guy in this position is the guy that my Doc is fighting, the gridlock inside of picnic. So we're going to go ahead and swing aggressively to get the kill on this last guy to secure the round. But hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully everything made sense, and I hope you guys enjoyed.